So I've been doing some research. I watched the press conference. We have an update on the Buga Spheres. So I was watching some other YouTube videos people have done on these spheres, and it's easy to see that a lot of people just regurgitated everything that they've seen on the internet or read in articles. It's clear to me they didn't watch the full press conference and listen to all the engineers discussing what they found out about the sphere. So we'll get into that today. I will show you some footage as well from the press conference from the engineers themselves. I apologize if there's any noise. There is a big thunderstorm going on outside right now. So one of the things I found interesting was a lot of these eyewitnesses that have seen the spheres, they all talk about how the sphere is being drawn towards power lines. And that's one of the things that happened as to why we actually have one of the spheres is when Jose was filming, it seemed to hit a power line. He said he saw it spark, and then it just slowly descended down to the ground. So I don't know why these spheres are interested in our power lines. To me, if I was the government, I would be all over this. If there was unknown objects that seemed like new kind of drone technology around the country, and it seemed focused on our power grid. Due to the fiber optics inside it as well, it's sending and receiving information. So is it pulling some kind of information from our power lines? Is it trying to send a message through the power lines? Jose was actually at the press conference, and he was saying that it seemed like something big for humanity, and he wanted to help be a part of it the best that he could. He discussed more about his symptoms when he got really sick when he got the sphere and brought it home for those few days. He said he was very nauseous, he was vomiting, it seemed to take energy away from him. And when I looked back at the other research, it was saying that water evaporated from the sphere when placed on the sphere, and all of the vegetation dried up where the sphere was the next day when they went back. So to me, it seems like that Jose was probably extremely dehydrated just due to what happened with the sphere and water, and then the symptoms that Jose had. I think that the sphere probably absorbed water from his body. Perhaps it dehydrated him. He's all fine now. He's good. Now he's just giving his eyewitness account and trying to help out the best that he can. An interesting fact as well, they said the weight was 2 kilograms when it first landed. And since it landed, it got heavier and heavier. As it lost energy, it seems to raise in weight. So it started at 2 kilograms when it landed. And then as the energy became less, it became heavier, and now it is at a steady 10 kilograms. And also, Jose's friend John, who we talked about in the last video, he actually showed up to the press conference and discussed how first people were trying to bribe him. All of these different companies, different contractors were calling him, trying to bribe him and send him a bunch of money for the sphere. A lot of people were wanting the sphere, and he said no. And after he denied all of the bribes, that's when he said the threats started coming into him and his family. And this is when he reached out to Jaime and said, we need to get this out of Colombia, get it away from the Colombian government, and that's when they took it to Mexico. The engineers working on the spheres, they said that the sphere rotated counterclockwise, and they said on the fiber optics that they were different. There's thousands of them, and they're all different diameters, which means that they would each have a different function. So they're trying to determine what each of those functions are with all of the fiber optics built into this thing. Here is a video of one of the chief engineers that's working on the sphere right now. This is some of the information that they have so far.
It's a tomography. As you can see, there are certain holes right here that are located at the equator, which is right here, right through the center. We got the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. When I saw this, I asked myself, once again, where's the energy source for it to levitate? Reason for which I started investigating how satellites have a cable and they can be charged through the cable. But I was reminded of Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla experimented with his famous tower, the Wonder Clock. Let's see what he did. As you can tell, this Tesla tower, if you see it vertically, you can see that there's a tube that goes down the center, which is an electrical conductor. It goes underground, and we have certain pallets that are being generated with the current. It generates an electric current, and it's distributed up top. And when the plates move, it generates the necessary charge. Let's move forward. So then I asked myself the following. What if we grab the Tesla tower and we inserted it into the sphere? And since there's no river to generate those electrical charges, according to science, is only through friction. You should rub those materials together to create friction. And then I thought of this. Next image. When I generate electrical charge, we would have a field. But let's stop for a moment. Let's go back to the previous image, please. These charges are going to be distributed throughout the sphere. But there's something that is very important. There's a physical property within physics that tells you that the addition of magnetic fields that you can add to a sphere, they will counter-arrest each other. That's the Gauss law. The electrical field is equal to zero. But what if we make it rotate? So there's friction at the center. So when we start to make the sphere rotate, we start generating different fields. Let's stop the video right there. So then I thought, if I generate what Tesla did back in the day, generate static electricity up top, would it help? Would it give me more answers? It was in 1832 that Charles Darwin, he discovered spiders on his ship, on his boat. He thought that the spiders were being transported by the wind currents, but it was opposite from what Tesla knew. What really happened with those spiders going on to Darwin's ship is the following. You see how the spiders shoot up in the air. The spider fixes itself onto the trunk, which has negative charges. And then the static makes the spider rise, because there's a difference in potential. And that's why the spiders levitate as such. And they can travel for thousands of kilometers. And the only way of having them stop is by cutting their spider webs all together. But they're using the spider web as a rail and static as a fuel, which is different from other types of technology that do have a direct control on their flight. Next slide, please. Let's look at this principle with an experiment that was done at Mexico's Autonomous University with the bandograph. If you generate a current, it will generate an electric charge which will be eventually discharged at the ground level. But if you warm it up with a flame, you realize that the sphere is generating its own static when you apply heat to it. Next slide, please. Here's the smaller sphere. We're applying heat to it. Let's go back a couple, right there. A little bit forward, please. As you can tell, when you turn on the sphere, you have electrical current, and the static goes all the way up. It could be the spiders as such, or the Google Sphere itself. They are being moved due to static. Now the generator is within the sphere and it's generating the necessary fields. There's a difference in potential with the atmosphere, and they have opposite charges. Next slide. We can do a comparison of a spider flying through the air with the Buga Sphere. Look at how it's behaving. Look how they're levitating in the same fashion. So we suspect that the sphere is levitating thanks to static fields that are reacting with the atmosphere. This is the reason why if the sphere has to rotate for it to be charged up, if it touches high voltage wires, it's going to be discharged, causing disequilibrium on the inside, and it descends. Next slide. This is a turbine. I'll tell you what we are pretending to do. For a turbine to work properly, we have the Platon cycle in thermodynamics. We're talking about gases. So to achieve this, we have to put air through the turbine. The reactor comes on and the cycle starts. What we want to do, next slide please, is to help the sphere so that as the wind turbine does, has a starter, we can start it like a spark plug. Next one please. Well, we got a little time left. Well, tell me, please. Yeah, we got the image of the sphere that's rotating on screen. So we place the sphere in an instrument that will make it rotate at a certain speed, revolutions per minute. If we achieve that speed, we might be able to reactivate it, turn it back on again, and make it levitate once again. But there's 4 obstacles. If we levitate it, if we do it outside and they detect it, it might float away, right? If we do it within closed doors, it's not going to fly away, right? But how do you turn it off? Number 3, thank you. This is the third problem it would present. This is the animation of the device that will make it spin. And we're going to try and prove if this theory is invalid or if it's valid. And we're basing ourselves on physical concepts. And when we start to make it spin and when we create friction on the interior of the sphere, it creates electricity, it creates static, and we assume that it will levitate. When we talk about the chip, it looks like an antenna. We're trying to detect where the resonance comes from. If we manage that, then we're going to understand this perfectly, what its impedance is. And once we know what its impedance is, we'll be able to know what its ROE is. And then if we don't do it, then we're going to remain uncertain.
And I found it interesting that Dr. Greer was also at this press conference. And he has been huge in this movement for disclosure. If you've stayed updated on anything Dr. Greer's doing, I suggest you look into some of it. Here's a video of Dr. Greer at the press conference.
His work has been seminal for many years, and
This is Dr. Stephen Greer.
And I'd just like to recognize the courageous people who picked it up and brought it. Now, there had been spheres found before, and in the United States, special forces thugs go in and get them, and people have been killed possessing them. Very smart that you keep it safe, and that you also disclose it. It's transparent. Everything goes out. My assessment of this is pending, but it's certainly real. It's using an energy field, and what we probably would say is electrogravity, which means a type of anti-gravity effect from the electromagnetic forces. And whether it is a purely extraterrestrial origin or a mix of an ancient human extraterrestrial development, there are 4 or 5 possibilities. And this is what we want to look at. If we can get some of the materials and do carbon dating, we can from the polymer, then we will know how old it is. If it predates this kind of manufacture, it will be extraordinary. So I think there's a lot of investigation. We have some really good scientists here with us who can do this research with you and confirm and help and join forces with your effort. So my own sense of this is that it's obviously real, it's anomalous. We have seen these sort of spheres before, and I just want to share, 2 days ago, we debriefed a Green Beret he was in a subterranean facility, Crane, Indiana, the Naval Weapons Station. And this is a top Green Beret, not many years ago. And he was taken underground, very deep, and it was shown several extraterrestrial devices, one of which had a device, like a translucent, almost like a small iPad, but extraterrestrial. And it was putting up above that screen a series of letters or symbols, deep ink black. And they are on this sphere, 4 or 5 of them. It was very unusual. Now this gentleman, he didn't have any association with those symbols until he saw this sphere. And in the interview 2 days ago, when we were in Los Angeles, I'm not going to disclose his name right now. His information is going to an investigation law enforcement group in the United States I'm working with that are looking into the criminal aspects of the secrecy of this. But he said these are exactly the symbols that were floating above this device in the air, about a foot. And that they had some effect in his awareness, and that he thought it had something to do with activation of DNA and consciousness, some very unusual effect. So, very interesting new testimony. It was very surprising to us, and I wanted to share that with you. And so we're going to continue these investigations, but I think there's a very significant object, and the other gentleman was correct. We have 700 whistleblowers and people in the United States now coming forward. We have a lot of evidence. We do have some physical evidence. That wasn't correct. But something like this we have never had. Because usually these get confiscated by thugs, criminals. And so, good for you. You've done great work, all of you. I'm very proud to be here with you. Thank you very much.
And here is a video of Dr. Greer discussing how there was an attempt to steal the sphere. There were some people that dressed up as police officers in an attempt to get the sphere. So they have everyone's names, all of the engineers, all the scientists working on this. They want to make the investigation as open as possible, but they're keeping a very good record of exactly who needs access to the sphere, who's actually doing experiments on it, so that way there's no issue of anyone walking in there and attempting to take it.
Hello everyone, this is Dr. Stephen Greer. I'm in Mexico City. As many of you know, we've been examining the Buga Sphere for the last 2 days with Congressman Burleson and a group of scientists. We've just been notified by Jaime Mason that there was an attempt by fake policemen to enter the vault where this Buga Sphere is stored, and we have notified security and the apparatus I'm working with under law enforcement. And you should know that the other risk here is that we have taken specific samples from the Buga Sphere that will be tested in a state-of-the-art lab to prove whether or not the metal, as well as some of the other components, or Earth or outer space origin. Those scientists' information have been provided to the top law enforcement and security apparatus that I'm working with, and so any sort of attempts to interfere with this examination will be known, and the people and perpetrators will be held to account for it. So this is what I wanted people to know, and we're doing everything to set up security for this. Thank you.
I will be continuing my investigation on all of this and keep you guys updated with anything that I find. As always, follow your intuition. I love you guys. See you soon.